The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to today's webinar on Office 2007 End of Support. My name is Michael Coyle. I work as a partner technical specialist within Micro Warehouse, and it's great to see so many people on the call and that as well. Just a few things I want to a few pieces of housekeeping to start off with. I will take, there's a chat feature on your window, so if you do have any questions, feel free to post the questions and I will answer them at the very end of the webinar, okay? So as I said, today is Office 2007 End of Support. We're just going to go into this in a little bit more detail. Okay, so most of you are probably aware that October the 10th of this year was the official end of support for Office 2007, okay? So we have, from some of the records we've seen from Microsoft, we do see a lot of customers still using it. Now, it might be a case that there is a mix, you know, so there might be 2013, 2016, that as well. But it's key to understand, you know, with the end of support, what that means. So it's also for Office for Mac 2011 as well. And the one thing I would say on this as well is customers now are well aware of outdated versions of support, what the challenges are there as well, you know, especially in light of recent attacks and that as well. So what is the risk to your business and what does it mean to your business and that as well, okay? So there's no new security updates from Microsoft, okay? No new features, updates or bug fixes. So for example, with say 2007, you would have had you know, like say service packs, service pack 1, 2, 3. That was the way the older version of the software would have worked, and that as well. So that would have included, like say, bug fixes and that as well. Also as well, and this is a very important thing as well, so no online technical content updates and that as well. Okay, so like that's really important. We will touch some of the options that are available to you as a customer as well, you know. So also as well, some people might be using, say, Office 365. So for example, Exchange Online, so your email is in the cloud, but you're using the Outlook client and that as well. Key thing on this here is 2007 clients using Office 365 will not be supported, okay? Now, one thing I would say on this here is, and just from my background as well, I've worked in the technical side, so I've worked in customers and being, like, say, a systems administrator and that as well. I would have come across scenarios where, you know, the official documentation will say it is not supported, but we can get it working. I can just tell you straight away on this here is I've seen a case before, and it was to do a piece of software on Windows XP, and that we had it working on a certain amount of machines, and that then it wouldn't work, same machines and that there. So one thing just to be very clear on this here is it is not supported. So if we were to log a call with Microsoft, you know, you will not get any support. I suppose the big thing on this here now is, you know, for example, in 2007, what Office meant, what was involved in that as well, like, you know. So we'll look at this. There's about, say, 5 key areas on this here. I'm just going to go into a few of these here in a little bit more detail than that, okay? So built for teamwork, okay? Share files, manage workflows, okay? So Office 2007, okay? If I wanted to share files, just email them to somebody in that, okay? In 2017, you have a number of options, okay? So you can use OneDrive for Business, you can use SharePoint. I have my documents up there. I can send a link if I want to invite somebody to it, to the actual document. But a key thing on this here as well is the ability to co-author on a document, okay? Now, this is not something, you know, that's going to be needed every day, but I've used this quite a few times, as in, like, say for example, I might be working on a project, I might be working on a tender and that, okay, and I need to get a document out by a certain deadline, but I have other people working on it. So it's not a case that the document is sent to one person, wait for them there to finish, you know. So I can actually have, like, say, people working on one phase of the document in that as well. And another thing as well is, depending on how you're using this here as well, is there's version control built in as well. So if I need to return the document back to a previous version as well, it makes it a lot easier. Mobile, and this to me is probably the key feature on this here. Okay, so from a mobile perspective, in that with Office and that, you have a lot more options available. So if I look at 2007, just looking here at the flip phones and that, I must admit I had one myself as well, you know. So, but the big advantage on here from a mobile perspective on here is, before, my Office was installed on one PC, lived and died with the machine. Okay, now in 2017 with Office 365, I can log into a portal. Say for example, I've left my laptop at home, I'm not able to get into the office, not there, I need to work on a document and that. I can log into a web portal, and the one thing I would say on this here, I'm going to do a demo on a few aspects of new features that are available. So just to show you it, you know, I always find a demo much better in that as well. So like in 2017, my laptop is at the office. I can log into a web portal. I can get access to my documents. Do I need Office? Do I need to download Word, Excel to the computer? I can do that as well from the portal and that as well. I've got built-in security features. I've got multi-factor authentication built in. So when I log into the portal, put in my password, and then it's going to ask me to authenticate as well. So you know, my documents are secure in that as well. Maximum productivity. Now this is going into this here as well, like, you know, standard features, access files anywhere on your devices. Okay, you know, like the one big advantage here is I can edit a document on my mobile phone. Okay, so there's mobile apps for Word, Excel, PowerPoint and that as well. Now some people will say, you know, do I really need that? You know, I found, like, one of the things I find really useful at times is, you know, you might be going to a meeting and that, you've met the customer before and that, and just before you're going in, you look onto your mobile phone. You might be using, like, say, OneNote and that there, the notes from the previous meeting and that there, just gives you a refresher. It's on your mobile, and then you go into the meeting and that as well. Also as well, like intelligence, business intelligence and that. Okay, now this is a really, it's a large area now in 2017 and that. Okay, so for example, if I look at, like, say, some of the features that are available with Power BI, business intelligence, where I can get data. Like previously, before, the only person that normally got excited with SharePoint or with Excel spreadsheets and that was normally an accountant or somebody in that area. But can I make the data more visual? Can I make it more real time as well? Like, you know, so for example, you know, you're going into, like, say, you've got a sales team. You've got a Friday meeting in that. Okay, you can go in and that, people update information into Excel and that as well. The person that's leading the meeting, it's in Power BI. They can actually manipulate the data and that there, make it more readable and that as well. Give time, like, say for example, you know, amount of products being sold in a certain area and that as well. But again, you can actually use the tools that are available in Office 365 to, you know, to fit your needs in that as well. Trust as well. I suppose one of the big things with trust is there's a 4-letter acronym being used a lot now at the moment, GDPR and that as well. Like, you know, so, and if you look at, like, say, the ISO 27001, I'll go into this in a little bit more detail on the next slide in that as well, you know. So, but one thing with Microsoft and the Microsoft Cloud is it is the leading cloud provider out there as well, and it has conformed to certain ISO standards and that as well. Okay, so we are looking at the moment at, like, say, Office 2007 end of life. What are my options here? Okay, so today's presentation we're going to go into Office 365 in more detail. Okay, and as I said, if there's any questions, just feel free to put it on the chat window, and I will get to it at the very end. So what is Office 365? Office 365 is a user subscription. Okay, so it's it's a per user license, okay? So it's not like, say, certain models you would have had it like per device. It's a per user in that, okay? It's a subscription model as well. Now, a key thing I would say to you here is you've got a relationship with your partner in that as well. The partner will go into Office 365 in more detail on that. Today, I'm going to talk about, like, say, certain parts of it. We're not going to talk about, like, say, commercials, pricing that as well. So a key thing really here is, you know, speaking to your partner, building out a solution that works for you, because every customer is different in that as well. So low cost of entry, again, you can tailor this here to your own needs in that, okay? So for example, you know, you might have, like, say, an office of, like, say, 50 users. They need Office, they need Exchange, they need different features. But say, for example, I might take on casual staff for a few months over the Christmas period and that as well. All they need maybe is, like, say, a mailbox, maybe some other features in that as well. But you can actually, you know, license them up for, like, say, them 2 years or 2 months, how long they're there and that. So, you know, you can start and stop the licensing as well. Like, so it is a lot more flexible to go with you as well. And the other thing as well is you can move between plans as well. So that has made life a lot easier, and that as well for partners and customer as well. The other thing as well is, you know, predictable budgeting as well. Now, again, that's kind of an open question as well, like, because if you do add on extra users, then, you know, you're going to have to, you know, budget for that as well. But the other thing as well is, and this is from an IT perspective, is I'm bringing on 20 new members of staff and that as well, okay? Now, they might need a laptop. It might be seasonal workers and that there. They have their own mobile phone and that as well. I just want to give them email access. I might want to give them, say, some other features, Microsoft Teams and that there. Again, I'll touch on that in a little bit more detail. Or they might you might want to use Staff Hub or something like that as well. Like, you know, so, but again, I can get this up and running very, very quickly in that as well. You're not waiting on hardware to be shipped in as well. Like, you know, so it's software based in that as well. And the other thing as well is up-to-date software. With Office 365, when I touch on, just going to the next slide here, when I look at it, Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, with the Office 365 version, you know, you download that to your computer, and you can stay, depending on how it's downloaded, you can hold back up to updates for up to 1 year. Okay, so that's probably a key aspect in that as well. But from an IT perspective on that, it makes things a lot easier that if all users are on the one version of Office and that as well. So we're not looking at, like, say, Office 2007, 2010, 2013. You know, you come into these areas where, you know, this feature was available, but it's not available on this here version and that as well. Like, I'll do a demo on Flashfill. Flashfill came in 2013. Okay, but it wasn't available in 2010. But at least if everybody's on the same version, and that it makes life a lot easier in that as well. You've also got the Office online applications as well. So you can log into a browser, you can edit your documents. Again, I'll show this here on the demo and that as well. You've also got Office mobile apps as well, you know, so you can go, and the key thing on this here is, you know, if I'm using, like, say, an iPhone as well, I've got apps available for that as well. Like, so Office 365, when I look at, like, say, the Office part of it, it's your Word, it's Excel, PowerPoint and that as well, but it's much more than that as well. And this is the key aspect on it as well. Like, you know, so now I'm going to touch on some of these here, and I'll go into it in a little bit more detail as the slides progress as well. So business class email, okay? So what do I mean by that? Again, depending on the plan you go for, each user gets a 50 gig mailbox, okay? There is one plan out there that has a 2 gig mailbox, but generally it's a 50 gig mailbox, okay? Again, attachment sizes, now this is increased in that as well. So you can send large attachments as well, and off the top of my head, I think it's 135 meg. It's been increased. It's gone from 20. Now there might be stipulations within your own network as well, like, you know. But the one thing on this here is, and one of the key features on here is you're getting the power of Exchange, the features, the calendar sharing, the archive features, and that as well. Like, you know, so one of the things I would say from an IT perspective is, you know, previously, if I look at, like, say, Outlook 2007, okay, so for example, I might have had an Exchange backend, okay, so the Exchange server is sitting there in the office and that as well, you know. With Microsoft's Exchange Online in the cloud, Microsoft will provide an SLA in that as well. So your data is in the Dublin data center replicated across to Amsterdam and that as well. Microsoft guarantee you a 99.9 SLA in that as well. If they don't meet that as well, you know, they will refund the customer in that as well. But there's 3 copies of the data kept in Dublin, then replicated across in that as well. Like, you know, but from a, like, say, archive side of it, you know, a lot of people would archive your emails to PST files. Your files are all over the computer in that, okay? So for example, if I want to then go, like, say, to another computer in that, those archivers are sitting local to that machine. So 50 gig mailbox, there's no reason now why that information should not be in the cloud, okay? And the information follows you as well. Now, there's little things you can do as well, you know, cache some information locally in that as well, like, you know. But again, this is the area where you speak to your partner on as well, because again, it's working out what your challenges are as well, like, you know. So file sharing. So few options on this here. So straight away, you get OneDrive for Business. Each user gets 1 terabit of storage, okay? More than enough for the end user in that as well. They can upload files, you know, so onto OneDrive for Business and that as well, like, you know. So I always kind of look at this here, you know, previously it was like your home drive and that, like, you know, it's business class, it's business information, but it's local to the end user and that. Now they can share that out internally, externally as well. From an IT perspective, you can stop that as well, like, you know. So, but the other features as well is SharePoint Online. So I can set up team sites as well to collaborate, and that's okay. And this is a really important area within Office 365 as well, like, you know. So like there's you would look at OneDrive for Business having a certain amount of features, then SharePoint brings much more features in there as well. So for example, you know, I might have set up a SharePoint site and it's got documents on it and that. I'm working on a document, but I do not want anybody else to work on the document, okay? So I check out that document, okay? Anybody else within SharePoint can actually look at the document, but they can't edit the document, okay? You know, so that's a key area within SharePoint Online as well. Now, there's other really good features, and again, I'll touch on this here within the OneDrive for Business side of it, because I find the demo on the OneDrive for Business really good in that as well. But I show things about how you can synchronize information locally down to your machine as well. So, for example, you know, we talk about the cloud. Now, just remember, when we talk about the cloud, okay, your Office applications, your Word, Excels sit on your computer, okay? So they're not sitting in the cloud. Yes, you've got online versions of it, you've got mobile versions, but your Word, Excel, PowerPoint still sits locally on the machine. So for example, you know, I might be working in an area where I know there's going to be no broadband, okay? Now, in this day and age, there's multiple ways, you know, you can tether to your phone or whatever it is. But look, there might be I mightn't have access to it. So what I would do there is my documents are on the cloud. I just synchronize them down locally, work on the documents, and then I can synchronize back up again. Okay, so meetings, communications, and that as well. Okay, so just touching on this here. Now, Skype for Business is a product here. Okay, so for example, in the simplest format, I can log in. I can see other people within the company. So for example, you know, if somebody's available, I can IM them as well, okay? But I can also set up meetings in that as well. I can share content as well. I can do training that there. There's whiteboard sessions in that as well. But also, if I want to invite external people to this as well, I can invite external people as well. You know, people might want to join in through, like, say, an app on their phone and that as well. They can do that as well. Also, they can have a number, like a dial-in conferencing number and that as well to join in as well. Now, key things on this here is, like, you know, I give an example of a project I worked on a few years back in that. So it was a company that had a head office in the west of Ireland, but they had salespeople all over Ireland in that, okay? But once every month, not there, everybody had to go back into head office, into a meeting just to catch up on how things were going and that as well. So you have people traveling from, like, say, Belfast, Donegal, Kerry, so further afield to a location on the west of Ireland and that. So some of the people were like staying overnight and that as well, so added expenses and that as well. What we ended up doing then was setting up Skype for Business. We added in a few other areas as well, like for collaboration and that as well. So what they were able to do is, people didn't have to join the meeting physically in that, okay? So they could set up a meeting online. Now, the one thing I would say on this here is this will not replace all face-to-face meetings, not there. It's just, being a little bit more productive in that as well. So what they did was everybody met once a quarter in that, okay? But it cut it out this, everybody had to come over once a month in that as well. So, and the sales team then could join in from, like, say, different locations and that as well. But the other thing as well on the meeting as well, like, so what normally happened was there was product updates. You had different speakers coming on as well, like, so some of them mightn't even actually be in the head office and that as well. So they might get an external speaker, so they might need to take that person across and that as well. But they could record the meetings as well. So record the meetings, because sometimes not everybody can attend the meeting as well, so somebody can listen back in that as well. Now, the savings they made on that side of it, like I spoke to the partner after it and that as well, like, and like they were able to use that there in other parts of the business and that as well. But again, it's just a case of letting the technology do what it does and that as well. Technical support, okay? So key thing on this here is, Microsoft will guarantee, I touched on this here, like, you've got technical support. It's through your partner in that as well. But then if they're not able to resolve it, they're able to then go to Microsoft in that as well. So you've got financially backed SLAs. Microsoft guarantee you 99.9% uptime in that as well. Like, so simple IT management, everything's within one portal in that as well. So a lot easier to manage in that as well. And again, as I touched on here, anywhere access. So, depending on how you set this here up and that as well, people can access it from different locations, different devices and that as well. Okay, so touched on here, like, so we're looking at end of life Outlook, or sorry, Office, end of life, So key aspect on here now is that you get Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you get Outlook, but you're getting the latest versions of these here products not there. So when new features are becoming available, you will have access to them as well. You're also getting Skype for Business. You're also getting OneDrive for Business and that as well. So where I can synchronize information up onto the cloud and that as well. But it's just a key aspect on this here, I know I've touched on before, is, like, remember with your Word, Excel and that as well, you can install this here up onto 5 devices. You can install this on 5 PCs, Macs and that as well, like, so because it's licensed per user and that as well. Now, if that's a feature you don't want, you can turn that off and that as well. Your IT team can look after that as well, like, but it's just that flexibility and that as well. You can install it, like, say, on iPads as well, like, then you've got different apps and that as well. But it's just the flexibility in that as well. And just going into, like, say, the flexibility side of it as well, like, so I touched on that example on Skype for Business and that as well. The companies now are not stationed in one location. If you cannot get into the office and that you're not able to work, like, I remember, now this is back a couple of years ago, and that they're in a small SMB and that, and he was saying, one of the key aspects for them was being able to retain staff and that there. And I think this is, it's across the board and that as well. And comment he made to me about Office 365 is, I can implement now an enterprise solution. So when I say an enterprise solution, this could be something like, say, a Microsoft or a Accenture or whatever it is, and that, like, I don't have to go and pay for hardware, have 7-8 servers, in the office, not there. I can implement what they have. I can implement the top of the range features and that as well. So I can offer a more flexible workforce. And like, he had a challenge on, he had a staff member coming back into the company and that as well, and they were looking for a much more flexible, like they were looking to do a 3-day week in that as well, and he was able to work around them as well, being able to allow the technology to make their life a lot easier in that as well, so. And I think that's a key thing, and be that say Skype for Business, be that say SharePoint Online and that as well, so. But it's just little things like, why spend say an hour and a half in traffic in that as well? Can I work from home certain days? Can I go into work a bit later in that as well, but be available from a starting time as well? Again, it's just that flexibility in that as well. Now, we touched on here as well, like say, for example, Exchange Online, okay? So we've taken the Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, so the other features now. So we're talking like, say, 50 gig mailboxes, touched on this as well. You have the same experience over, like, say, different devices in that as well, so it's little things, for example, I log onto my laptop, I send emails, not there. Then I log onto my mobile phone, it synchronizes up on that there. We take this for granted, not, but you get the same experience in that as well. So that's Exchange Online. So when we're looking at Office 365, it is much more than your Word, Excel. So we're looking at, like, say, the different features here. So Exchange Online, so OneDrive for Business, okay? So again, touched on this here, I can log into a portal and that, and my documents are available in the portal. I get 1 terabyte of storage in that as well. There is some limits in it there that you need to be aware of, but again, this has been pushed out as well, so it really doesn't impact users in that as well, so. But again, I can, like, say, upload documents in the cloud. I can synchronize it back down locally. For example, with the 1 terabyte, say for example, I had, like, say, 500 meg installed, in OneDrive for Business. My hard drive, I've only got, like, say, a 512 SSD hard drive, and that, I only want to selectively synchronize down certain documents. I can do that as well. But also as well, in conjunction with, like, say, Exchange Online here as well, I can actually then, share links. So instead of sharing the document, I can share links out as well, so a really good feature in that as well. Skype for Business, touched on this here as well, so we're talking about, like, say, instant messaging, so we've got people in we've got 2 or 3 offices in that as well. I don't know, for example, if one of my colleagues in the other office is in, Skype for Business pops up. Again, I show this on the demo on that as well. Skype for Business pops up in that. I can see they're available. Instead of sending an email waiting, I can IM them as well. I can do, like, say, a video chat, an audio chat as well. But I can also set up meetings in that as well, okay? So I can upload a PowerPoint deck in that as well, and just makes things a lot easier in that as well. And again, people can join in the meetings. For example, somebody is not at their machine in that as well, but they've got an app for their, like, say, phone and that as well, so they can join in through there as well. It just makes things a lot easier. But there is like a pretty new feature in that available in that as well. So this is PSTN calling in Office 365. So I can use Skype for Business to actually make external calls as well. So take this back a little bit for the moment, okay? So I am a company of 50 users, okay, and I've got maybe, say, 2 offices. I can do video calls between each other in that, okay? So I can chat away from that side of it. I can also federate with an external company. So, for example, I deal with maybe say 2 or 3 companies a lot. I know they have Office 365. I know they have Skype for Business. I can actually federate with them, so they'll be able to be seen in that as well, and then I can actually make calls with them as well. But say, for example, I wanted to feature the ability to make to have a telephone number. So I might have my own certain PBX system at the moment in that, okay? But I want to integrate this into Office 365. That is available now. So there's a feature called Phone System, and there's calling plans in that as well, available in that as well. Now it's available in these countries, okay? So if you have a customer that is not one of these countries, that feature is not available. But I can, like, say for example, I'm dealing out of Ireland and that as well. I can make calls to any country. Like there's a whole list. It's just the calling feature is not available in, say, like countries like, say, Italy. There is a roadmap in that available. And what happens with the Skype for Business then is, you've got all the features like, call forwarding, punt groups and that there, auto attendance, it's got the full features in that as well. But again, there's no need for on-premise servers for this here. This is all handled by Microsoft in that as well. And you can port, if you've got an existing number, you can port this across in that as well. Now, I've worked closely with a certain amount of partners on this here, and the feedback has been really, really positive on it in that as well. Okay, so touched on OneDrive for Business, like that's a bit like your home drive, your H drive, and that there, your P drive, and that there. It's business information, but it's, you've access. SharePoint Online, so what happens here with SharePoint Online is the tenant level gets 1 terabit of storage, and then for each user you have on it, they get 500 meg as well. Like, so again, this is like, I want to set up certain teams and that there only allow certain people to have access to documents and that as well. And again, I touched on, the feature on checkout and that as well. Like, so, but again, it's the mobility in that as well. So it moves with you as well, like, so if you need access through a mobile phone or whatever device it is, and that as well, like, so. And the other thing as well here on it, now we're talking a lot about, like, say, the mobility side, about users, being able to move in that as well. There is features available within products in that as well. Like, for example, if somebody leaves the company, how do I take access off in that as well? So there is features available in that as well. And again, this is where you have your conversation with your partner, because the key thing on here today is I'm talking about different products and that there, some of the products mightn't be of benefit to you in that, but it's understanding what features are available in that as well, like, so. Okay, so, and again, work the way you want to in that as well. And I think the key feature on this here as well is the technology is there. It works with you in that as well. So certain users, touched on the one feature, like, say, co-authoring a document. You have a document in the SharePoint site, you've got a deadline to get out, one person is working on one aspect of it, another person's working on another side on it as well. Like, you can see changes being made as well. Like, so for example, if somebody's editing the document, you can see that in real time as well. You can make, say, comments in that as well, like, so. But again, it is that flexibility that wasn't available in 2007 and that as well. This is the one thing I really like, and just again from my my, like, say, IT, like, one of the challenges I had in the company was, now we were using an older version of Exchange and that as well. So the version of Outlook, users were very comfortable on that, okay? But when they went to the online version of it, it was completely different. And it really, okay, because I have a technical background, I found this easy, but just understanding some of the challenges users had in that as well. Like, I remember somebody kind of saying, like, how do I access my address book and that, and again, I took it for granted, but the online version of it was completely different. The beauty on this here is, if I'm on an iPhone, Android, different devices and that as well, the experience is very, very similar. If you look at this here at the moment, this is showing, like, say, OneNote, okay? So it's, you know, where you can take notes if you're going into meetings and that as well. You can take notes, add information. You know, if you've got, like, say, a lot of people like this as well. Like, for example, you know, if you're doing a Skype for Business meeting and that there, you can take the minutes of the meeting and that there, you know, upload it into OneNote and share it out to all the people that were on the meeting and that as well. Now, one thing I wanted to touch on here, that slide went a bit quick in that, like, so Microsoft Teams, okay? So we have chatted, we've talked about, like, say, Skype for Business, SharePoint, you know, collaboration, different tools and that as well. This is a pretty new product that's become available from Microsoft. So it's Microsoft Teams and that there. So chat-based workspace in Office 365, okay? So I'll do a little bit of a demo on this as well, like, you know, so, but the advantage on this here is, say, for example, I'll show a demo on something slightly different than that there. If you were working on a project and you wanted to put all the information into one location and that, okay? So I would have seen, like, say, for example, like maybe an IT company, they might be working on, like, say, but we'll give the example, Office 365 rollout, okay? So, you know, you're using Skype for Business, you're using, say, SharePoint for documents. Why can't we put everything into one location? And this is where your Teams becomes available in that as well. A key aspect on this here is it is pretty new. It's only been available in the last year and that, you know, so they're adding on more features to this here as well, like, you know, so, but it's one location. So a common thing being asked a lot is, how do I reduce my inbox? You know, and again, it is using features like this here, like Teams and that. Okay, so I can set up a team for that there project. I can invite members onto it. If there's external users, I can you know, invite external people onto it as well. You know, so I'll do a demo on this here as well. Now I'm just going to go into demo mode here to start off with, and that. Okay, now I haven't touched too much on, like, say, from a security side of it. Like, there's a lot of policies in place, and I think I'm going to show a few things on this here as well. Like, with the attacks that you've seen recently, a common denominator has been software that has been out of date, that has been targeted in that as well, be it XP, you know, different versions of software and that, like, you know, and the common denominator. And this is the beauty about, like, say, Office 365. You are getting the latest version, or near enough the latest, that you can hold back updates within 1 year. That's normally a case for larger companies and that. Okay, so just going into a demo site. Okay, so just showing some of the features. I'm going to start off with say, Word. Okay, so I'm just going to open up Word here. Okay, so you can see here, these are my recent documents that I've been working on as well. Okay, so if I open up a blank document here, okay, so, you know, I can save the document in that as well. But I want to show a feature that, like, again, a company I know pretty well in that there, one of the challenges they would have got is they would have got a lot of CVs, and so it's a recruitment company, they would have got a lot of CVs in PDF format. So normally it was a case of, right, what do I do here? Do I, you know, license each user for a version of Acrobat? And that's pretty expensive as well, like, you know, so I can edit PDFs and that as well, like, you know, so, but give an example on this here with the newer version. This actually became available on 2013 as well. It's a feature not a lot of people know about, like, so File, I'm going to browse. Okay, so I'm going to browse into my desktop. Now, for this purpose, I've just kept some stuff on desktop and that there. Of course, you know, use your cloud provider and that, like, you know, so to save documents. So I am actually opening up, so this is a document that we would use in that as well. So what you can see here now, it is converted a PDF document into Word format. Okay, so then I can browse again, and I can I should go back a step here. I can actually upload this here into OneDrive and that as well. Like, you know, so for example, you know, depending where I want to save it and that as well. So you see here, it's a PDF document. Now it's going to be saved as a document in that as well. Like, you know, so for example here, if I want to upload it now into the cloud and that there, I can select a location on here. So I'm going to select Office 365. I'm just going to save it in here. So that is now converted into a document in that as well. Like, you know, so so it's a PDF document converted in that. Like, you know, again, very, very simple feature in that there. Like, you know, so, but again, it's something not a lot of people knew about as well. And again, as I said, like dealing with a couple of recruitment companies, it's not only recruitment companies in that as well. There's other companies as well that will come across that challenge as well. Okay, so just a feature within Word and that as well. And I'll touch on that a little bit more detail in that as well. So Excel, okay, I've actually got this document, I think, open. Okay, so no, that's a separate document, and I'm going to, sorry, I'm just going to close, don't save. I can open up this here document. Okay, so this is an Excel document in here, okay? So feature I'm talking about here is, right, okay, and I'm just gonna make a change on here. So it's a feature called Flash Fill, okay? So, so if I look at this, the documents on here, so the information, so there's 500, now I just downloaded this here and that, okay? So there's 500 lines on this here from Excel, okay? But if I look at there for the moment there, so I've got first name, last name, okay? So I want to put, like, say, the last name is all in uppercase. I want to keep the same format, okay? So I want to use a feature. So what am I going to do here? Am I going to create a formula in that, okay? So I go last name, copy across, okay? So first name is Butt, B-U-T-T, and then I go next one and go to, and it's picking up the sequence, okay? So what it's done there for me now is it's actually formatted this correctly. I don't have to create a formula. I don't have to go through each one by one in that, okay? So now I've got it in the correct format and that, and then I'm going to delete this here, okay? So first name, last name, now it's got in the correct format. But now I actually want the full name as well. So I am going to insert another column, type in full name, okay? And I am going to type in James. Okay, then go to the next person, Josephine, and it picks up the sequence like that, and it updates that. Okay, mightn't be overly exciting to most people in that, but if you're dealing with Excel a lot and that there, this is a really, really useful feature in that as well. And the one thing I like as well, you know, this is a pretty new feature in that as well is, you know, I might need to do, like, say, one of the common things is people don't use Excel that often. You know, they might use Word a lot more, but I might need to do something. Like, say, for example, this flash fill. This is great, me showing you this here. So if I go into the help feature there, I type in flash fill, sorry, flash, and okay, sorry, and I go down to get help on this here, you know, so sorry, I'm just going to just do this here, flash, and get help on this here. So it actually brings videos in here. Now there is an issue where if you split, like, say, you know, leave a gap in that as well, like, you know. So there's a video on here that shows you how to do it. So it's a LinkedIn video. So with Microsoft, you know, having that integration with LinkedIn and that as well, this is a video that'll show you split combined data and that as well. So it's a video, and there's other things like pivot and that. This is growing in that as well, but it's a really, really good feature that'll show you how to do this here and that as well. So you can stay within the document and that as well. Okay, so that's just one or two features within Word and Excel and that, okay? Now, I just want to show you as well Skype for Business, okay? Okay, so this is my Skype for Business client here, okay? So when I log into the computer, this pops up, okay? So I've got a list of people within my organization. You know, for example, if I wanted to find somebody in here, I might just go Aidan. So this will give me the list of Aidans available. So I can see with that little green tick there as well, that both are available in that as well. But I'm just gonna do for this here purpose not there. So I'm just gonna do send an IM. I'm just going to pick Nicole here, and sorry, just one sec. And so I want to hover across here. So this is the feature, a really, really good feature here is if I hover across the user in that there, so I can do a call to Nicole. Nicole works here as well. I can do a video call in that as well. But if I just want to do an IM in that there, I just go, hi, Nicole, just testing Skype for Business, and yeah, so that's Nicole coming back. Thanks, Nicole. And yeah, so you know, you can see straight away in that there how easy it is to use in that as well. And again, if I want to do, like, say, if I wanted to share, like, say, my desktop and that is where I share content, I can do that as well. Like, you know, so. But the other thing I wanted to show on this here as well is now. Two people up here, yeah. So, and that's Nicole coming back. Okay. So the other thing as well on here is shows my calendar in that as well. But these are people on the external network here to me as well. Okay. So I can see here Joanne is actually red, so it's looking at her diary and it says that she's in a meeting in that as well. So Miriam is available. So I can actually IM them, I can make a call to them as well. Like, you know, so, and again, that's just a simple feature within it. Now, if I had PSTN calling available on this here, there'd be another tab in here where I can actually dial numbers in that as well. So that's Skype for Business, really simple in that as well. And the great thing on this here is the presence feature in that as well. I can see if somebody is available. If they're not available, they'll be shown offline as well. Now everybody showing up there. So, and again, you know, you've got apps for your phones and that as well. Like, you know, so. But if I say, for example, I wanted to, like, say, set up a meeting in that as well, you know, so I can, like, schedule a meeting in that. So if I go, like, this here, say with Nicole, I can schedule a meeting. There, it opens up Outlook for me. Okay, so and click on a Skype meeting. Now, just wanted to show this here. So it populates Nicole into that. I can add in other people in that as well. Okay, but for me to join here, I just click on the join meeting option in that. Okay, but I've also got this conferencing join as well. So for example, you send this here out to external users. They don't need to have Skype for Business to join. They can actually click to join Skype meeting and it downloads a web app that they can join. But say, for example, somebody is out and about, they want to join in through their phone, it'll give details on that as well. Like, you know, so, and as I say, like, there's your join Skype meeting and that as well. Like, you know, so you can join in through there and that as well. Like, you know, so, and it's just a really, really good feature in that as well. Like, so now, I'm just from a testing point of view here, I just want to join the meeting. Now, again, not a great example because there's nobody on the meeting, okay? But again, if there was other people on the meeting, participants, I would see that, you know, the different people that have joined the meeting and that as well. If I want to, like, say, share content in that as well, I can share content in that as well. Like, you know, so I can share my desktop and that there. I can share a PowerPoint file as well. Like, so let's have a look at this here. Now I'm going to go into downloads and I'm going to get something here that's pretty small and I will upload this here. So this is just a SQL. It was a workshop that we worked on that as well. So I'm just after now, like, say, uploading that database. Now I had to look at something that was pretty small in that as well, like, you know, so now this might take, say, a minute or so in that as well. If you were setting up a meeting, normally you would have the documents installed in that as well, like, you know, so and I've also got, like, so there's the document up now. So for people can see this here and that as well. I can move across, so there's 41 slides in that as well, so I can move across back and forth in that as well. The other thing as well is, you know, I might have multiple presenters here as well, so when I set up the meeting, I can promote other people to present the content as well, like, you know, so and there's other features in here as well, like, you know, for example, I want to record this as well, start recording the meeting as well. Again, you know, a really good feature within here. It's a really powerful tool. There's a lot you can do with Skype for Business and that as well. Okay, so I think that gets, and again, as I said, like, you can invite people onto it as well. Like, you know, there's also as well, if I want to dial in somebody, call controls here, I can dial in somebody into the meeting and that as well. Like, you know, so, okay, so that's Skype for Business and that. Now, what I'm going to do here is log into the web portal, because I wanted to show a few features regarding security. So this is me logging into my Office 365 in the cloud, okay? So there's a few different logins in that, okay? Yeah, always helps if you get the password right first. And okay, this is when you have really complex passwords and you've changed them this morning. That's okay. So what happens here now is, you know, not everybody has a really secure password in that as well. Like, you know, so for example, on this here now is I'm using multi-factor authentication. So what it's asked me now is I've got an option here on my phone and that's okay. So what I can do here now is authenticate through the phone and that, okay. So what's going to happen here is I use an app on my phone, an authenticator app, and all I click on is approve. Now you can use other features. You can get Microsoft to give you a call. You can get a text message. I find this app just the easiest way. So I'm going to click on approve, and that's going to log me in now. So I'm logged into my Office 365. So I've got all of my information in the cloud and that as well. So look at here. There was a document that we recently uploaded there, MWH. So it's a Word document. So that's a recently updated document in that as well. But I just want to show one or two features within here and that, okay? So for example, on here, so I'm going up to the settings button here, and I can type in settings here as well. But Office 365, so for example, I need to download Office here. So I go to software and I can click on install. Simple as that. Okay, so I can install there from the actual portal and that. So I would just click on install. Now this all depends on what license you have in that as well. But again, makes it a lot easier in that as well. Now I'm going to go back over to my apps and that as well. So I've got, like, say, Outlook in the cloud. I've got Word, SharePoint, you know, different features and that as well. But I want to touch on OneDrive. Okay, so just clicking on OneDrive. Again, as I touched, 1 terabyte of storage each user gets. So these are all my folders in here, okay? So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to create a new folder and going to call this here, so we're going to call this here sales. I'm very creative here and that. So folder called sales and that there. Within that sales, I want to create a document, okay? So now I'm not using Word on the computer. I'm actually in here on the online version. So I create a Word document, okay? This is now using Word Online. I'm going to save this document. I'm going to give it a name. So so I'm going to go new project, and okay. And again, my spelling is terrible. Now, one thing I'd say on this here is there is no save button. This automatically gets saved in that as well, okay? So I can type away in here, and I'm not going to anything useful, but I just want to put in some of the information in that as well, okay? So what's happening here is you can see up top here saving. It is auto-saving in the background, okay? If I want to share this out with other people, I can go share in that as well. But I just want to do something else as well. So it's saved, and I'm going to make some more edits to the document and that, like, you know, so so again, it's going to auto save in that as well. So I go into the sales folder again. I can see the the document there, okay? Now, you see here it's private. It's not been shared out with anybody, okay? If I want to share this out, I click on share here, and I can then decide anyone with this link can view, edit it, and that, like, you know, so, but maybe I don't want, so I want a specific somebody, and I click apply, and then I decide only this person's going to allow access to it. So I'm going to enter their name. So I'm going to, just for this here purpose, not there, I'm just going to say myself and that there. Then I can type a message, hi Michael, and okay, get your caps sorted. Hi Michael, and yeah, I can put in whatever it is not there, and then just click send. Okay, so again, I'm sending this link out. The document is sitting in OneDrive for Business, and that's okay. And I've shared out a link to the document and that. Okay, so the person then will get a document. So you see here now, because I've sent it to myself, this is an example of what the end user will get, and that, like, you know, so just give it a second to process. See the link and that there, and then they can click it. So you're not sending the document, you're sending a link to the document and that as well. Okay, so again, you know, new feature within Office 365 and that as well. Okay, so I know we're getting close on time here and that as well, but the other thing I want to touch on as well is, so if I go back up here into my OneDrive, okay, so I can see here I've got all these different folders, okay? So I've created that folder called sales. Now, if I look locally on my computer, okay, now hopefully you can see that a little bit better and that, like, you know, so if I look at OneDrive and that, and okay, so you can see the folders that I have there, okay? Now, there are only some of the folders that I've synchronized down in that, okay? So choose OneDrive folders to sync. I come into here, and then I can decide, right, I want to synchronize other folders in that as well. So for example, like, you know, I can say the sales folder we're after creating, I want to synchronize that down, and then you see the sales folder being synchronized down, okay? Pretty straightforward. You see the document there as well, like, you know. The other thing as well I want to touch on as well, just going back into the client and that as well. So I'm working on the new project and that as well. So there you can see the information. But say for example here, you see the features that are available. Maybe I want to edit this in Word. Okay, so I can actually open it from there, and you open up the local install and that as well. Again, very, very easy to use and that as well. Now, just lastly, resume editing. No, just want to come out of that there. I want to show you something called Teams. Okay, so I have Teams here. Okay, so we touched on before Skype for Business, documents and that there. How can we work better together to have everything in the one location that there? So this is Microsoft Teams and that, okay? So if I look at here, I'm logged in under a user in that, okay? So I can see, like, I have a HR team, I have a sales project team, and I have an IT team in that, okay? So if I look at the HR team in that there, I've got channels in, a general channel and a new starter channel, okay? So I can have files in here as well. There's wiki reference. You can add planner in that as well. There's other things you can bolt onto this as well. But you can see these documents in that as well. So this is the conversations in that as well. So I'm going to go to my mobile phone and just to be another user in that as well. So I'm logged onto the mobile phone here as Patty in that, okay? And I'm going to send a message here as well, like, you know. So you see a message now I'm after sending there from. So Patty is a member of the HR team in that as well. Do you know where I can find details on you started process? Just for reference, not there, okay? And then, hi, Patty. And then you can just go check the files section on this channel. Okay, so again, very, very easy. Now I'm logging onto the mobile phone. I'm getting that message then now from Linda and that. So again, it's all about collaborating, keeping information on the together in that as well, like, you know. So, but this is just a rough demo on Microsoft Teams and that as well. Okay, just conscious on time because I've kind of slightly gone over the time in that as well. Just going back to the presentation. So that's everything from my side. Now, I did say at the very start regarding Q&A if there's any questions in that as well. So I've got one question here, just looking at the chat section out there. So I've got one question here from James. How much does Office 365 cost the end user in that there? That is a question you need to speak to with your partner, simply because there is different plans available. Do you just want email? Do you want Skype for Business? Do you want, like, say, SharePoint? Am I going to use Teams in that as well? Now, you can mix and match in that as well. But again, have that conversation with your partner in that as well, okay? Now, just another question here. It's from Mikhail. Yeah, I touched on Skype for Business. Is there a... Yes, okay. Sorry, I might have touched on that, that I said, like, the iPhone. Yes, there is. Now, just check as well, because there's different flavors of Android in that as well. But for most of the newer flavors in that there is a device. I actually use an Android phone myself in that as well. So I've got an app there as well, like, you know, so, but yeah, there is. And this is the really good thing about it as well. Like, there's apps available for Teams, there's apps available for Skype for Business and that as well. There's apps available for OneDrive for Business and that as well. It's not, you know, if you have a Microsoft phone, fair enough in that there, but, you know, it's Androids, iPhones as well, and that, you know. So just got another question here from Sarah. So I said on here, storage on OneDrive for Business is 1 terabit. Yes, okay. So just to clarify that just a little bit as well. The enterprise plans, you can get 5 terabit as well. You can get up to 5 terabit of storage in that as well. So again, just be conscious on that as well. Like, you know, so you know, so that's one thing just to be aware of. But it's generally 1 terabit across all the plans that have it. And that, like, the enterprise ones have up to 5 terabit as well. Like, and again, with the email, I said 50 gig mailboxes. You can get unlimited as well. Like, you know, just depending on the plan. Okay. Last question here is, yes, okay. So I've got a question here from George. George's question is around multi-factor authentication. So when I logged onto the browser, I logged into the portal, the Office 365 portal, and then I put in my password, but I then used, you know, like my phone as a second form of authentication. And that, George's question is that an extra cost for users? No, it's not. Okay, that is actually built within Office 365 and that as well. Like, you know, so it's built within the plan that you have and that there. So it's just a case of turning it on and that as well. One thing I would say on that is, you know, there is something called an app password for your Outlook clients and that as well. So if you are using older versions of the Office client and that there, you know, instead of using a password, you're going to need an app password and that as well. Okay. Just to follow up on that as well, James asked about the multi-factor authentication versions and that there, you know. Okay, so key things at the moment, like, say, the way I did it here, now obviously you're not able to see this here, like, so when I logged in through my password, I also then, like, went to my phone, I had an authenticator app and that as well. That authenticator app is available for Android and iPhone and that as well, you know. So so it's the key, one of the reasons I use that is in case, for example, Microsoft can call you as well, but what happens if the coverage isn't great and that there? You can get a text message as well. I just like the whole thing about the Authenticator app and that as well. I just get a pop-up message and I can allow that as well. And again, Android, iPhones, Windows Phone as well, that app is available for there as well. Like, you know, so, okay. There's one or two other questions there that we've already answered as well, you know. So the key thing I would say here, just as a final from this webinar, and that's okay, if you are using, you know, Office 2007, it is really time to kind of look at your options there, okay? because it's gone end of support and that I would say to you, have that conversation with your partner. They are the best person to speak to regarding the options available. Now, I've touched on a few aspects there today. It's an hour webinar and I've gone slightly over, but there's so much other features as well. There's Staff Hub. Staff Hub allows you to manage staff and that they're rotas and that as well. You know, there's Planner. There's a lot of features within Office 365, and that's what your partner there is to understand what your needs are as well. Okay, I would like to thank everybody for joining the webinar. It's great to get such a such a large audience on it as well. Again, always good to get questions at the end, because we've been on webinars before where there hasn't been any questions. But look, thanks for your time today, and have a great rest of the day. Thank you.